Hey everyone, Muckleck Douglas Bartholomew Reginald Esquire IV here, and this is a guide to the basics of playing a Druid in PvE. First, I'll go over my recommended starter build along with some alternative choices, then show you the playstyle and some tips and tricks with clips of the build in action. If you want to skip ahead, timestamps can be found down below. Let's get started. This is the basic build I recommend for general use. There will be some specific fights where a certain trait, skill, or pet will be preferred over the ones in this guide, but what I'm about to show you is for all-purpose Druidism. Skirmishing. Trapper's Expertise. It increases the healing of Healing Spring by 60% and reduces the recharge. It is amazing for this build. Spotter. An aura that gives 100 precision, which is increased critical strike chance to nearby allies while in combat. Quick Draw. This skill reads, when swapping weapons, but going into Astral Form does count as weapon swap, so if you go into Astral Form, use your biggest heal with Quick Draw, you can then use your biggest heal again a few seconds later. Nature Magic. Instinctive Reaction. The quickness is nice, but the main point here is more healing power based on your power. This makes gear with healing power and power extra good for us. The Search and Rescue trait is nice in rare instances, but Instinctive is good 100% of the time. Windborne Notes. Reduces the recharge of Warhorn skills by 20% and makes your Warhorn skills apply regeneration. Combined with Warhorn 5, this could start healing allies very far away from you in any direction. Be aware that Warhorn 4 strikes an enemy target so that it will apply regeneration only to allies that are around the target you're striking. Nature's Vengeance. Makes your spirits much easier to keep alive and increases their buff radius by 50%, an obvious talent for any build that runs spirits. Druid. Cultivated Synergy. Makes your heal skill perform an extra heal burst when you use it if they are within high 5 distance. Natural Stride or Celestial Shadow. Natural Stride is good all of the time, faster movement and faster recovery from conditions which would slow you. Celestial Shadow is amazing in rare moments. If you have aggro, you can go into Astral and then drop it to stealth, or go into Astral next to a downed ally and then drop Astral to stealth you and the ally to increase the chance of getting that res off. Note, if the ally performs any action, it will break the stealth. If you are pugging, don't depend on them knowing what you are up to. Grace of the Land. Mandatory. Any groups that have experience with a Druid will expect you to have this talent, so let's not let them down. With proper usage, you will keep the maximum 25 stacks of might on the party using this skill while in combat. This is one of the strengths of the Druid when compared to other healers. They have things they're good at, this is something you're good at. Healing Spring. This makes keeping spirits alive insanely easy, and the constant healing on the party and the pets makes your astral power generation also an easy task, allowing you to go into astral form very often. Additionally, it cures 2 conditions off you and nearby allies when cast, and another 2 for 5 pulses every 2 seconds for 10 seconds on up to 5 allies. Some quick math, that's 60 potential condition removals in the worst condition-related environment. This mechanic trivializes some encounters. And if you're wondering, why not Water Spirit? I'll touch on that later. There are 5 utility skills I often use. We can, of course, only carry 3. Stone Spirit. Periodically gain protection when attacking, reducing incoming damage by 30% for group members. It isn't up 100% of the time on its own without another source of prot, but it can save lives many times during a dungeon or fractal with its applications. It can be activated a second time to cripple and immobilize surrounding mobs and grant more protection to the party with Nature's Vengeance. Frost Spirit. Increases the damage of all allies in range by 5%, can have 100% uptime. If you cast a second time, it will chill surrounding mobs and grant more might to the party with Nature's Vengeance. Search and Rescue. In a good group, you may never have to hit this button. In a dicey group, you will be a hero every time you use it successfully. It teleports a downed ally in range to you and your pet starts rezzing them. If you then click F to res them yourself, they are getting rezzed by 2 targets and will get back up very quick. Be very jealous of necromancers who can do this with the transfusion talent every 15 seconds or so on 5 people. Sun Spirit. All allies apply a burn when attacking. The damage scales off that person's condition damage. So this spirit starts off with bad DPS, but the more condition builds in the party, the more the damage shoots up. Additionally, it will proc from up to 10 targets every 3 seconds, so every ranger pet, necro minion, etc. will proc it, making it better and better if you have a couple of necros with a horde of minions in the party. You usually don't want this in a full power party. It can be reactivated for party vigor, enemy blind, and a larger burn on the enemies. It will be weak because it's coming from you, and we are not building condition damage ourselves. Storm Spirit. All allies will apply 3 stacks of vulnerability when attacking with a 10-second cooldown per person. Can be reactivated to do a burst of power damage, daze enemies, and apply Fury to all allies with the talent. You won't need to use this often, but not because it's bad, but because so many classes bring vulnerability, so you won't need to bring it. However, if you are in a group with no vulnerability, and then you suddenly bring this skill to the table, you will increase the group's damage by up to 25%. On some fights, even if you already have vulnerability in the party, using this to get to max vuln stacks more quickly when rapidly changing targets can make a huge difference. I typically recommend Stone Spirit, Frost Spirit, and Search and Rescue for pugs by default. Swap Frost or Search and Rescue for Sun Spirit if you're in a group with a lot of conditioned damage dealers, or if you need vulnerability, swap one of them for Storm Spirit. The ultimate. Spirit of Nature most of the time. Spirit of Nature pulses constant healing every second to up to 10 allies at a time that they are in range. This includes other spirits. So if you have other spirits out and nature is healing them and the party, you're getting that much more astral power per second. Just keeping the nature spirit alive with healing spring overlapping it or including it in your astral healing radius to keep those benefits rolling. While it is alive, you will be healing everyone with small heals from the spirit and your regenerations every second, even if you can't throw a big heal at that moment. This is when astral generation is at its highest. When you activate the skill a second time, the spirit teleports to you, does a large animation, then revives up to 5 downed allies. If you get interrupted or the spirit gets interrupted, it will not go off. It can revive even you if you issue the order, then go down while the spirit's casting. The spirit will revive you with the rest of the group. It could take some practice, but it feels amazing getting off a mass revive and salvaging an entire boss fight. Weapons. Axe Warhorn. Use Axe Warhorn as your default. Your priority for this is pretty much 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hard to remember, right? The Warhorn skills are your strongest and apply regeneration to everyone and other buffs. Axe 3 puts weakness on the enemy, making them do 50% damage sometimes, and the chill helps with break bars. Axe 2 is just raw damage. Use it when all the other stuff is on cooldown. Staff. The staple druid weapon. Use the staff when you need to. A common druid quote is don't babysit staff. Do what you need to do with the staff, then go back to Axe Warhorn. A quick rundown. Staff 5. Sublime Conversion makes a flower wall that stops enemy projectiles, making them healing projectiles, and regens allies that run through it. On the final boss of Uncategorized Fractal, this can completely stop the boss's damage for a time. With Quick Draw, you can use this skill twice back to back. Staff 4. Vine Surge roots and cures allies of root in a line. Can use this to help with break bars or CC enemies in some circumstances. Staff 3. Movement skill that heals at the end of it. Think of it like a chest bump that makes everyone healthy. If you use it into your flower wall, it procs a healing combo which results in 2 heal bursting out of you instead of 1. Staff 2 puts a small ball of healing on the target that orbits around them and heals allies as it passes through. The heal is small compared to the rest of your kit, so I use this sparingly. Staff 1 heals allies that are between you and the target you're shooting at. This is one of the only ranged attacks that is not a projectile, so it does give it some strengths. Pet choices. I use the Fanged Iboga and the Jacaranda. I've tested every single ranger pet on a dummy with a damage meter, and the Iboga and the Jacaranda are near tied for top damage per second. But that was on a dummy that was not proccing the Iboga's confusion. On a boss that is fighting back, the Iboga is king. I only swap pets when the Iboga dies or is about to. Additionally, either of these pets can use their F2 ability to damage an enemy's break bar. While your concentration is low and you're still working on gear, you can use the Tiger and use its Bestial Pounce on cooldown for higher Fury uptime if the group needs it. Tiger has higher Fury uptime than the Moa, so if you need Fury, use the Tiger. The Raw Gazelle can do a lot of damage to enemies' break bars with its skill set, making it a viable second pet for this purpose. However, its damage per second is low because it spends so much time charging around the room and then running back and doing it all over again. I've heard some people recommend the Fernhound because it has a regeneration. It is one of the weakest regenerations in the game. Remember, it scales with the Hound's healing power, not your healing power. And his healing power is weak enough that his regeneration may not ever even be used. And while we're on that topic, let's talk about how regeneration works for a second to make this clear. Directly from the wiki, regeneration is a boon that grants healing over time. It stacks in duration. The boon with the highest healing contribution is used before other lower healing power applications. That means that weaker sources of regeneration keep getting pushed to the back of the line. Don't accept the low damage Fernhound pet for healing reasons. It doesn't fulfill that role very well. For equipment, I recommend Harrier gear. That's gear with power, healing power, and concentration. And while working toward that, use whatever you can find with healing power and power. The excess power will become healing power through the instinctive reaction talent. Once you get full Harrier's gear, you can look forward to having 1160 concentration, which will make your Might Fury regeneration, etc. have 100% uptime on the party if you're playing well. When you get into a fight, do your Warhorn skills top priority. Use your smaller spirits if you're going to be in the area for more than a few seconds. Healing Spring the groups and the spirits if possible to hit both. As soon as you have enough astral power to go into astral form and use astral 4 on the party. then another skill, usually 3, then 4 again thanks to Quick Draw. Astral 4 does 5 healing pulses, and since each heal gives might, each full channel gives 10 stacks of might to the party that you hit. In short, Warhorn plus Astral 4, 3, 4 gets 25 stacks of might up very quickly. I consider my staff an emergency button in most cases. If someone needs a heal and Astral and Spring are not available, I'll swap staff and 5-3 into them and get back to Axe Warhorn as soon as possible. Remember, periodically using Astral 4 on the party for might, even when they don't need healing, then drop out of Astral form so you don't waste too much of it. And now for some tips and tricks. Making sure that every other healing spring is at least touching the Spirit of Life can keep it up indefinitely. It will keep your other spirits alive even if they aren't in range of the spring. Just make sure all the spirit auras are reaching where the party is fighting. Again, this is when your Astral Power regeneration will be at its highest. Astral Form 2 into Astral Form 3 is a Cleanse Condition combo. This can cure conditions off of teammates when your healing spring is on cooldown, if you need one more condition cure to fill the void before the spring is available again. Remember, by the time healing spring wears off, it's going to be halfway recharged again. Using Staff 5 and then Staff 3 into it is a healing combo, which will perform additional bonus healing. Using Astral 2, which has a delayed heal on the party right before dropping Astral Form so that it goes off afterward, will help refill your Astral bar again. If running Celestial Shadow, you can purposely Astral on, then Astral off on top of someone to stealth them, often used to revive in a dicey situation. Just remember, if they use a skill, it will reveal them instantly. Why not Water Spirit? I get asked this a lot, so let's touch on this now. Healing Spring cures up to 60 condition stacks, puts constant regeneration on the party for up to a full minute, makes keeping your spirits alive and Astral Power generation extremely easy. Water Spirit gives everyone a chance on hit to self-heal, but it can go off when they are full health, then it will be on cooldown when they need the heal. Additionally, it has no cleanses in any way, can't heal itself, and barely heals other spirits if its activated extremely weak regeneration happens to choose them as a target over one of your party members. If you had multiple druids in a group or raid, I think it could be worth, but as the sole support, it 110% seems like a bad choice to me after trying it. Conclusion. Why play the druid? Same reason as any other class. Play it if you think it's fun. If you like the idea of healing, supporting a party while bringing more damage than most of the other current supports, or you just like having a pet, this could be the class for you. At the time I'm making this guide, I've cleared all 100 fractals, done most of the raids, and taken down a few challenge modes in both fractals and raids using the information in this guide. I do want to stress again, this guide is for general use. There are occasional fights where you will bring Entangling Roots instead of Spirit of Life to hit 5 break bars at once, or simply stop all the mobs, or perhaps Glyph of the Tides to push enemies away, but for what we discussed here, I feel those are rare situations. In closing, I love playing this class, and it is my go-to for PvE content. If you want to see more and chat live, I'm online on Twitch every night after 9 PM Eastern Standard Time, and always willing to answer questions. If you want to be notified when the next content releases, be sure to subscribe for more content, and lastly, if you want to try Guild Wars 2, you can get the entire core game for free by clicking the link below. Happy healing!